Hi, this is my screencast about the difference between a language and a dialect. So, what is the difference actually? We'll start off by asking ourselves, is there a technical distinction between these two? We'll be looking at the old observation of the linguist and videoist Max Weinreich that says a language is a dialect, an army, and a navy. Some persist that these two are separate concepts, but in fact there is no objective difference between the two. A English speaker might think that a language is a collection of dialects where different speakers can communicate within the language, but they understand each other. Well, more or less then. But English stems with a small distinction based on intelligibility. So if you can understand it without a training, it's a dialect of your own language. If you can't, then it's a different language. But this intelligibility standard, it doesn't apply consistently. For example, the Scandinavian languages. A Norwegian, Danish, and a Swedish person, they can converse in a conversation. They just adjust one another's language and they can have a conversation. But the speakers of these varieties, they consider to have their own distinct languages because they are spoken in a distinct nation. But meanwhile, when someone hears Mandarin, Cantonese, or Taiwanese, they are all described as dialects of something called Chinese. But Chinese is the only language that exists on paper. But in fact, all of these varieties, they have the same writing system, but each word has its own symbol. So for example, someone from Mandarin can converse with someone who speaks Cantonese. However, if we look at Arabic, a Moroccan's colloquial Arabic is completely different from a Jordan's colloquial Arabic. But in order for them to understand each other, they communicate in a modern standard Arabic. This is a preserved version that they can understand each other. It doesn't mean that it's better, but it's just for them to understand each other. According to data from Sharon Rose of the University of California in San Diego, speakers of Soro, for example, will pronounce the phrase he thatched a roof good enough. But the further you go on from that village to another person that speaks Nuher, will say the same word Kudanum, but they write it differently. And so on if you go from village to village, the same word will change in pronunciation and in spelling. But does that mean that they're all different languages? No, she concluded that they're all dialects from the same language. Now, the idea of distinguishing languages from dialects is no logical use. It's more that the speech is a little different from place to place. There's a negative implication about the dialect because there are people that suggest that languages are just written and standardized to have a literature, whereas a dialect is oral and they have no literature. So, we're back at the same question that was mentioned in the beginning. What is the difference between a language and a dialect? Well, the main conclusion that we can say here is that a language is written and, and in addition it's being spoken, whereas a dialect is just spoken. So a language has a written literature and a dialect doesn't have a literature.